Greetings, hockey mask wearers. I'm Benthelooney, and welcome back to Octoberfest. When it comes to horror movies, a lot of critics are unforgivable to a lot of them. It's rare when you find a horror movie that reaches the acclaim of several of the most beloved films of all time. But you know what's more rare? Finding a slasher movie that isn't trashed by critics. That's right, today we're looking at the long-lost cousins of horror movies. The movies that stereotype the genre to the point where people won't even watch a horror movie, feeling that it might be these kind of films. Today, we're going to take a look at slasher movies and why I love them so much. For those of you unaware, what usually makes a slasher movie is a killer, a body count, one final survivor who has to deal with the killer, a reveal on who the killer is, and on occasion, a twist ending. Back then, it was called the slasher formula. Today, it's called the Phineas and Ferb formula. Minus the blood and gore. Anyway, you're probably wondering how a person like me who hates the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy, Ted, and every Pixar movie could like slasher movies. Well, there's a simple answer to that. I'm a trucking loony. But another simple answer would be that slasher movies are just so much fun. Yes, slasher movies aren't cinematic masterpieces by any means. But does every movie that comes out have to be? Slasher movies are just movies that are supposed to be entertaining and are made for a good time. They have everything that anyone can enjoy in movies. Lots of gore, suspenseful tension, great special effects, and of course... That's right, in almost every slasher movie, you know that there is going to be a female showing some skin. Yeah, slasher movies are one of the main genres of guy movies, but that doesn't mean girls can't watch them either. Everybody knows that our gender roles are going through several changes these days. So, with all these elements, you know right off the bat what you're getting into when you watch a slasher movie, setting the tone for an hour and a half of fun, fun, fun. The next element I love about slasher movies is the killer. The killer is mysterious and eerie, always striking when you least expect it. Also, each movie has its own unique killer that has its own unique killing style. Jason likes to slash people with his machete, Freddy likes to haunt people in their dreams, Michael Myers likes to stalk people and then kill them, and Angela from Sleepaway Camp uses everything but the kitchen sink. What I also love about the killer in a slasher movie is the idea of them being unstoppable. When it comes time for the final chase with the final character trying to stop the killer, no matter what the character does, the killer just keeps going. You keep asking yourself, what's it going to take to stop this guy? It's suspense like that I think people glance over when it comes to slasher movies. Next thing I like about slasher movies is the characters. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What characters? But honestly, if you take time to pay attention to the characters, I think you see that they're pretty entertaining by themselves. Sure, they're not complex by any means, but they feel natural. They feel like people you know. You have the jock, the goofball, the girl who gets around, the a-hole, and then you have the only good character who ends up surviving, and is usually female. Feminists like to trash slasher movies by saying that their ways of saying women should stay in their places because most of the victims in slasher movies are female. Are you people high? You seem to ignore the fact that the character who survives and ends up killing the villain is a woman! Can you think of any other particular genre of film that constantly has a female hero who actually comes out strong and not looking like a complete dunce who just has dumb luck? If anything, you should be praising these movies, but instead you're saying movies like Twilight are gifts to womankind. Yeah, maybe you should start listening to the dialogue while watching movies instead of just drooling over the half-naked poster boys. Anyway, the point I was trying to make is, even though the characters in slasher movies aren't overly interesting, that's why their deaths are all the more entertaining. We cheer at their deaths because it means we no longer have to put up with them. These characters are made to be disposed of, and slasher movies are experts at taking out the trash. Finally, the next part I love about slasher movies is the violence. Me too. Ah! Dang you, Looney! How do you keep getting out of that mental asylum? Well, it helps when Congress has a revolving exit door. Hey, how come you're dressed up as Daria? I'm not Daria, I'm Negaduck. Oh, that's funny. I don't remember that character being in Daria. He's not from Daria! Who said anything about Daria? I was talking about Benny and Cecil. Ugh! Look, please leave. I'm trying to make a video. I know. So leave. Not until you take your shirt off and show me that dragon you're hiding in your 7th belly button. Okay? Look! A penguin is beating a blade of grass! Where? There! 5 miles from here! I'll use that penguin's beak as a toothbrush! Yeah! Sorry about that. Anyway, don't call me a lunatic. I myself am against violence and murder. But slasher movies allow me to see violence, so I can see why it's so brutal. Slasher movies are unforgivable, as most of the budget of a slasher film is spent on the gore effects. They make sure that every murder is biologically correct, so we get to see what color all of our organs are. One great makeup effect artist is Tom Savini, who worked on many slasher films, including Friday the 13th, The Burning, The Prowler, just to name a few. He's a veteran of Vietnam, so he had a first-hand experience seeing what the insides of our bodies look like. He used that knowledge to make the murders in the slasher movies that he did look all the more gruesome and realistic. Of course, with how great the violence that slashers are, a lot had to be heavily censored in order for them to maintain an R rating. A lot of films managed to keep the scenes that were cut out, but others weren't as lucky. I don't get what the FCC has against violence in movies. The way I see it, watching violence in movies might prevent potential killers from committing murders because the movies will fulfill their bloodlust. Because everybody knows violence never existed until movies were created. Hey, while we're at it, let's show a bunch of Mickey Mouse cartoons to prisoners. That'll make them turn into good, honest citizens. Am I right? The final element I love about slasher movies is, like I said before, they are just a lot of fun. I love the build-up each movie has to a character getting killed off. I eagerly await each murder, and I'm never disappointed. In fact, there are times when slasher movies know they're meant to be fun, so they add their own unique sense of humor. In Silent Night, Deadly Night, there's a scene where the killer cuts off a man who's sledding down a hill. A friend of the sledder is weighing at the bottom of the hill, and the friend watches as the sledder's decapitated body slides down the hill. I don't know why, but that scene always cracks me up. Also, have you ever watched the credits of a slasher movie? In most of them, after all the killing and all the scary music you had to listen to, you then hear cheesy 80s music as the credits scroll upward. Friday the 13th Part 3 is an example I can think of. Freaking dance music plays during the credits of that film. I guess that's the filmmaker's way of saying, we had a fun time making this. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. People who make slasher movies are in on it. They know these movies aren't meant to be taken seriously, so they just have fun with them, and they show it. But of course, there are people out there who try to dig deep into slasher movies, treating them as if they're supposed to have underlying messages that say something about society. I mentioned the feminists getting their panties in a bunch about them, but the god of all movie critics, Roger Ebert, called them dead teenager movies and tried to say that they tell teens that their purpose in life is to do drugs, have sex, and die. Well, Mr. Ebert? Yeah, that's pretty much it. A lot of slasher filmmakers said that they use their movies as a way to say, hey kids, be good, or you'll get hacked to pieces. Works better than all those cheesy drug PSAs that were airing at the time. But honestly, critics, these are movies about killers wearing masks. Were you expecting Ben-Hur or Lawrence of Arabia? Like I said before, these are just movies that are meant to be entertaining fun, because that's what movies are supposed to be, entertaining. It's true, a lot of films dig deeper and try to say something about a number of themes, but sometimes you just have to take a break and have a little fun. I can't think of a better genre to have a little fun with than slasher movies. They just want to be a great way to spend an hour and a half. Nothing more, nothing less. So, there's my salute to an underrated film genre. Well, actually, a lot of these movies do deserve low ratings, but in a good way. When I watch a slasher movie, I'm not expecting a great masterpiece by Stanley Kramer. I'm expecting to see teenagers get what's coming to them. True, some are weak and uninspired, but a lot of them get it right. Those are the ones that give me a great viewing experience. I'm Benthelooney, and I'm signing out. I'm gonna go make my own slasher movie. Attack of the Bloody Knives. Judging by the title, I'm pretty sure you know what it's about. That's right, a killer bookshelf.